Hey, are you feeling jaded? Like there's no hope that you'll find a healthy partner or a good relationship in your adult life? I'm asking because that's going around. And certainly that topic is trending in my office today. So I'm going to take a moment to speak to it. I'm Amy Gordon, an individual and couples psychotherapist. I also run Adventures in Relationship, which is a psychoeducational show about healthy relationships for adults with complex trauma. Uh, I've had a number of clients this week mention how they just feel like there's nobody good out there, that they've been on the apps and that everyone just kind of looks like it would be a mess to try to be in a relationship with them. And I'll just kind of sum it up in that way. But, a lot of different perspectives on what that means. If you're feeling this way, I want to offer just some considerations, maybe some tips that could be helpful in restoring some faith. First, I'll mention that we're probably all aware that there's this dialogue going on in the collective. You've got these kind of incel guys in the manosphere talking about how women are just not docile enough or submissive enough. You've got like podcast bros talking about divine femininity and how women should be, and all of men's opinions on how women should be. By the way, I'm queer. So personally, I could give a shit less, but I really feel for you straight women. And I want to say that there are some good guys out there in your age range who are single looking for the things that you want. We also have women kind of saying, like, men are emotionally immature, men don't have relational skills. I don't want to be with a man because that would entail mothering my boyfriend or husband. And that's coming from a really legitimate place. Like that does happen a lot, and that is a problem. But I mean, I'm just kind of improving here. So I'm surprising myself as the words "not all men" come into my mouth. I just want to say that there are some good guys out there. And even within the queer community, I would say any relationship that contains some dichotomy between like effeminate or femme and butch, mask, stud, where there are those gendered dynamics, the same problems can exist. So I just also want to say, even for you straight women, that some of us queer women, especially femmes, are having the same kind of issues. But here's what I want to offer to help you find them, help you find these good guys who are out there, or help you find a great lesbian partner or queer partner, non-binary, whatever you're looking for, even if you're looking for an ethically non-monogamous relational arrangement and you want to expand a couple or whatever this is for you. I'm just saying that if you've suffered from complex trauma, you're not seeing all that's out there. So one of the things that I want to bring to your attention is just the power of the placebo effect. I'm not talking about manifesting, visualizing like the perfect partner. In fact, I'm going to offer a tip that sounds a little like that, but it's not that. So I just want to say the power of belief does affect results. We know that from the placebo effect, right? Like somebody takes a sugar pill, but they're told that it's a really powerful antidepressant, and they say, wow, like this works so well. I feel the clouds have cleared. I'm feeling so much better. It turns out they were on a sugar pill. So placebo effect works in some different ways. But what I want to point to is that expectation bias. What we expect is more likely to happen. And this is not some woo woo new age idea. This is really based in science. There's tons of research, tons of evidence basis for me to say that if you expect something to happen, it is more likely to happen. I know you can't just decide that you want to have faith in something, but I want you to hold that piece of information in mind. Another thing that I want to point to is how trauma affects our ability to see what's out there. We just kind of miss things that aren't familiar. I'll just throw this example out because I work with a lot of women. So they're talking to me about how they are swiping and they're kind of like turned off by certain things right away. And when I break those things down, sometimes it sounds like, well, I don't know, he just didn't really look strong enough or fit enough or masculine enough. And I really want to challenge you there. You think that guys suck, but these are the guys who you're dating. There are other guys out there. There are guys that might not catch your eye immediately, who really might end up being quite charming and handsome and emotionally mature. So I'm just saying, maybe you should try to get outside of your comfort zone a little bit if that's what's happening for you. Um, Another thing, kind of in reference to that, making a list of the qualities that you want in a partner. This is sort of related because essentially we're talking about how complex trauma influences the nervous system. And if it's not familiar, it doesn't register, right? So, what I want you to do is make a list of qualities in a relationship that you want. So, I'm not talking about visualizing the perfect partner. Oh, he's going to look like this. They're going to look like that. They're going to make this much money. Scrap that stuff. What I want to encourage you to do is make a list of what you want in that relationship. For every item on that list, the sentence or the line is going to start with we. So we are fully transparent and honest with one another. We value our romantic life and plan plenty of dates. We both want kids. We are both spiritually involved in this way. We collaborate on deciding who's going to do what task around the house, that sort of thing. So make it about the relationship. And what you're doing here is really investing in a sense of emotional safety. So this is not desire, this is not dopaminergic. This is more based on a deeper intuitive. And if we were going to bring out neurotransmitters, I'd say more serotonergic, maybe more oxytocin, vasopressin oriented, but these are what it takes to make a long-term relationship work. So list the qualities that you want in a relationship and feel into that, not manifesting the perfect partner. Another one that's pretty obvious, but a lot of people miss this is just, where are you meeting people? Are you only on one app? And is that app kind of crap? I mean, I just can't think of a better word right now. Sorry. Um, are you trying some different apps? I met my partner on Her, and I've even heard Her is not a great app anymore. So I just want you to expand where you're looking beyond the apps. Look for people who have shared hobbies. And if your entire life is going to work, going home, and going to like a drinking establishment, like a club or a bar, and if that's what you do, rinse, repeat, guess what? You're only meeting people at your home, which is nobody, at work, which is a bad idea, or at a place where people are drinking, which is not necessarily bad, but it sure isn't going to narrow down your chances of meeting somebody great for you. So I want to encourage you to volunteer at an animal shelter or a youth program or, whatever you're interested in, to spend time in spiritual services or even recovery services like 12 step. And of course, in 12 step, we have to respect guidelines and rules around dating newcomers. And if it's your program, just do that ethically. Don't go in and try to sweep up the newcomer. They call it 13th stepping. Don't go 13th stepping. But you know what I mean? Like people who value the same things you do, people who are demonstrating through their effort what they're wanting in their life. And then shared hobbies like sports, climbing, kickball, soccer, whatever that is, physical activity. It could be a hiking group, it could be birding. You could find people on meetups, and meetups are just meetings of all sorts of people in any local area, sometimes online, who have shared interests. So just start looking in some of the places that maybe you haven't been looking. Maybe kind of obvious, but sometimes it needs to be said. Bears repeating. So I'll offer that. And then I'm an IFS therapist, internal family systems therapist. So I also want to point to how this jaded part can be a protective part. In IFS, we develop protective parts to save us from immense and overwhelming pain. And we develop these parts almost always in childhood when we were powerless around the circumstance. If you're anxiously attached, it's likely that this protective part came in a long time ago when you were kind of intermittently dropped by your caregivers. You felt this fear of being abandoned and this overwhelming sadness and frustration with the situation. And so something comes in and kind of hardens us when that happens. So this protective part might be like, I don't need them anyway, right? Like it's not worth the pain. Being held, being loved, being reflected, being chosen. It's just too risky. I've been hurt before. And so I'm kind of trying to discourage you from engaging in a relationship that would likely, in this part sort of belief system, that would hurt you. So I'll go into a few more examples and we'll talk about kind of a solution to work with here. If you have disorganized attachment, you likely have some wounding around not really being able to rely on your caregivers to protect you, your safety. So this protective part it might have this voice that's a little more like you can't trust anybody anyway. Even when they kind of show up and they seem great for a month or two, they're going to disappoint you. They're going to breach your trust. It's not worth going through the pain. It's not worth you getting all upset and volatile and having to see yourself in a light that you don't want. Just don't go there, right? This protective part probably sounds a little more like that. And for somebody who's more avoidantly attached, that part might say things like, you know, every time you're in a relationship, you get engulfed, you get completely taken over, you lose your autonomy and your independence, you're criticized. And of course, that pokes at the childhood wound of being criticized, being helicoptered, parents who won't let you do anything until you finish your homework and get straight A's and, essentially show up and perform as perfect. That's kind of behind the wound for somebody who's more avoidantly attached. But in any case, these parts have come in because when we were young and we endured that attachment rupture, it was too much for our little systems to handle. So these parts come in. In this case, this is sounding like a manager part. And of course, for everybody, this is going to look and sound a little bit different. But let's just say we all have a jaded part. And essentially, that part is protecting our inner child who is still kind of unresolved in that hurt around whatever that attachment and relational rupture was, that childhood trauma was. It's still kind of really trying to protect us from having to experience those feelings again. So the work is in convincing yourself and that part that you are actually capable of handling situations that you couldn't a long time ago, or even that you couldn't in previous relationships. So it's a matter of reminding yourself, like, you know what? I've done 2 years of therapy, or I'm 20 years older now than the last time I was severely hurt like that. Or I have handled so many difficult emotional scenarios in my life, and I can get through anything. Reminding yourself and kind of talking to that part as you do that can be helpful. If you work with an IFS therapist or an IFS, I don't think you even need to be a therapist to do IFS, or maybe coach or whatever. You can work through your own very specific parts work. But just in general, it's a matter of realizing this part is there to protect you. Its function is to save you from pain. So if you want to go out on a limb for the purpose of actually finding way more joy, you've just got to kind of convince yourself and that part that it's worth the risk and that you can handle anything that comes your way. That can also be talking about like a plan. So, okay, if this person breaks my heart, this is what I'm going to do. And that might look like a lot of different things: travel, stay with family, spend time with friends. You'll finally do this, that, or the other, but create a self care plan. Every night I'm going to drink my tea, I'm going to journal, I'm going to go to bed on time, I'm going to. So, whatever it is that you need to convince your part to help relinquish its intense hold on you and your ability to lean into the possibility of a relationship, I want to encourage you to do that. I appreciate you taking the time to check out this video. This is sort of a new series I'm adding into my work, which is all improv, not scripted. I do typically spend a lot of time writing out what I'm going to monologue for the podcast or the video. So this is something new, and I hope to be doing more of it. If you have any feedback for me, I'd love to hear it. Check out my full-length videos on YouTube or anywhere you listen to your podcasts. Just a reminder that this isn't therapy. This is very general, non-specific insight and advice. If I knew you, I would probably be a lot more pointed and careful. And anyway, we haven't signed a consent for you to be receiving treatment from me. If you are struggling, I want to encourage you to get help locally or online. I'm a therapist, but I'm not your therapist. I'll repeat that. Don't get your primary mental health needs met through podcasts, webcasts, and that sort of thing. Find a real provider. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.